there's several different calls that can be made with an illusion call. In fact, and a combination of potentially dozens of different types of calls that are going to make deer react in different ways. One of the keys is to understand what type of mood, and again, what type of environment a deer is in, to understand what to do correctly. And in some cases, you simply don't know. On a lot of our filmed hunts, you'll see us throwing a lot of different types of calls at deer, and the reason for that is because we don't know how some of them will react or what type of mood we're in, what type of mood some of those deer are in. Once we determine that, we can know what to do when a mature buck shows up. There is a long, drawn-out breeding grunt that happens, and there are variations of that breeding grunt. One thing there clearly is not is an aggressive, long, deep guttural sound that has to do with aggression. The only aggression is actually frustration on behalf of a mature buck following a doe that's not quite ready to breed. One of the ways we use that call most effectively is whenever an older, more mature buck, and by mature I mean 4.5, 5.5 years old, is in the breeding phase and may not have a doe with them. We'll use that call sometimes to bring that buck over across the fence into our area, or into another room, as I call them, and really close the deal on them. There's a clicking that happens, and if you listen really close to a mature buck following a doe, you'll hear it occasionally. It's so quiet that it's very, very difficult to pick up on our shotgun mics, and even though we've tried several times, we hear it all the time, it's rare to actually hear it on a video sequence. But what happens is it's actually a quick clicking that's happening somewhere within the vocalization. And the way we recreate that, the way I recreate it, is simply by flicking my tongue in the call whenever I'm blowing really slow. It just kind of, without the call, it kind of looks like this. When I put the call to my mouth, I blow and do that same lip movement and that tongue movement against my lips. And that's the closest I've come to being able to replicate that call. Typically, once you see a deer moving on a mature buck, moving in on a doe, and as he gets closer, that sound will get fainter and fainter the closer she comes to being receptive. However, if she's not quite receptive, you'll see that little bit of anger into the call, and it'll go more into a deeper guttural type sound. And that sounds a little more like this. Basically breaks free from the clicking into a long guttural grunt. And that, more times than not, has been extremely effective into closing the distance on mature bucks for me.